QuinQuis is the new musical persona of Émilie Tierson. Recently signed to Mute Records, Émilie has just released SEIM, her first album as QuinQuis, and one in which all the lyrics are sung in Breton. Yes, QuinQuis is based in France, but she lives in Brittany, where the native language, Breton, is closer to Welsh than French. We found Émilie in Chicago, of all places, ready to tell us about making music in a language few understand. So what are you doing in Chicago? Are you doing a gig? Are you going on the radio? What's happening?
Yeah, we are going to play at Metro Chicago tonight. So for you, it's a morning, but for me, it's
Yep. Okay.
the evening now.
Time is a strange and wonderful thing and means nothing these days. So what's it like? Because, I mean, your music is all in the Breton language, which speaking as an American, I can assure you that most of them have no idea what that means or where it is even. So how are you dealing with, how is your audience dealing with the fact that this is happening?
Like the fact that they don't understand a word, or the fact that they discover a new language. I think they are dealing well with it at the moment. We are just we've uploaded the lyrics translated in English in
That was
the
very
website,
helpful for me, I must say. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I think it's important for languages to stay what they are, like just a way of communicating between people. So if it stays obscure, then it doesn't work from my point of view. So it's good to have at the same time the language heard and also the translation, so people can figure out what I'm talking about and why I'm writing the songs.
Right. And what kind of live show are you doing? Is it just you on your own? Do you have other people playing with you?
So when I'm playing my own music, it's at the moment I'm on my own. I've done a gig in the past with Gareth Jones with me on stage,
right?
And he's going to join me during the September-October tours. That is like mainly Europe. So he's going to be with me on stage. So we would be two, and the rest of the time, most of the time, I'm on my own. Yeah.
Right. So Gareth had a big input in making this record. Tell me how you hooked up with him and what he did in relation to what you do.
So we met when he was working for Jan. He was mixing Infinity for Jan, and I was. So we spent a lot of time together, and after that I did my record called As an End to Death, and he mixed it.
Right.
So that was the first like artistic input he had on my stuff, and then for this album I was just like, so we began to be like proper friends, and for this album I was like writing, like recording some stuff, and I just talked to him because we were chatting about many things, and I talked to him about the fact that I was recording stuff, and so he said that he wanted to play some synths on something. So I've sent him one track first, and then the track came back so nourished by what he had done. So I've decided to send him another track, and then we began doing like ping pong. Like I was sending him stuff, he was sending me stuff back, and we worked really together. We really co-wrote the whole album together.
Right. And so how did that work? Have you written with people before, and how did you write together in this particular instance?
No, it's the first time that I'm really doing that. I had one experience with a band, but it was like kind of more writing while playing, so live writing. And with Gareth, it was really like everyone in. I was in my studio, he was in his studio, and we were just like really like through the air, exchanging music, and so I was. It was super simple because he knows me really, really well. So he knows where I want to go. I don't have to say much. He knows where I want to go, and also on the human side, he's like we are really so close that he exactly knows when I'm happy with something or if I'm not, or and I can also tell him exactly when I'm happy with something or not. So which is a good thing when you're trying to write something together.
Cool. Now you mentioned Jan. Jan is your husband, Jan Tierson,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and he has an album out as well, a live record, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
and he shows up on one of your tracks as well. So tell me about your musical relationship. I don't want to hear about the personal stuff.
They're both okay. And like I was playing music before I began being his partner, and and so at the very beginning I was not involved, and he wasn't either because I didn't really want him to be involved, and like life make us just spend the whole time together, our like all days and nights and together. So we kind of never, we are almost never without each other.
Right.
So I did a tour last month with Algiers, an American band, and it was like I went, I left home for I think 12 days, and it was the first time in 7 years that we have been that long away from each other. So
Ah,
so we are, in the end we are super linked because when we are working on something, we make we 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 ask to have like a year sometimes on the stuff that we are doing. And Jan is like really into that. He always like to ask people around him to have a listen and to know what they think about it. And also because his point of view changes when he's got someone listening, his point
right.
of view on his own music. And that is something that I've learned from him, is like to accept to have people listening to um, un, unfinished tracks so that I can change my point of view, and having someone listening to it in front of me, I listen to it in another way too. So now I'm a bit more into asking him his input on tracks, but before I wasn't that much. And now we are so I'm featuring on his album, he's featuring on my album,
Right.
but we are at the moment where we found a really good balance between both our work and both our lives. I mean, lives, even though it's together.
Cool. Cool. Excellent. Now the first track on your album is called, and I'll probably mess up the pronunciation of it, Ad Krog, which it
Yeah,
means restart. So
yeah.
I assume, especially since you've taken a new persona on board, this all feels like restarting for you. Tell me why you needed to feel to restart your musical entity and career.
So
It was just my life that was restarting because I had learned Breton language, and I was really like living with it thanks to my son that was born like so now he's 5 years, so
Right.
a bit more than 5 years ago, and so we are raising him in Breton language. So Breton language is really now part of my life. So that was already a restart, a restart way of living, and and uh, and it happened that the fact that I became a mother, it took more, like it took me away from making my own music because I was working on Jan's, and when he was on tour, I was following him. So it took me a while to be able to do that album that I think I've written in 3 years or so.
Right.
And so it was really like for me do it again, like to go back to what I was doing before, to play music and to write music. So it was like the whole thing was very like a full restart.
Cool. So there are several videos that you've made to go along with some of the songs on it. How much input do you have in the making of the videos?
These two videos, the two where I appear,
Yep.
It was really like an experience that we lived together with Murat, who did the video, and his team, and it was like kind of all coming suddenly to us while we were filming. So it was really, I was really involved, and I wanted that to happen in a place that I had found that I really like on Ocean, which is an old private school that is not like on anymore. I mean, there is no one in anymore.
Right.
So now there is just one public school instead of having one public and one private. And so this private school is like really like ruined and also filled with stuff about the Catholic religion, which I'm coming from because I'm from Brittany, and Brittany is like really like deep into Christianism, and it's something that is really always all around us, and also the place of death in our lives is super important because of this religion thing that like people are not believers anymore, but
Right.
it's still all around and in the culture. And so it was really funny to have that place, which is like linked to religion, but like also like a proper room. So for me, it felt also like the how the world is changing now, and like people lives on religion's ruins in some ways, and they don't even know that their whole behavior is linked to old how do you say that, old belief, like people that old things that people used to believe in.
Right.
And sometimes it's super hard to get away from things, and sometimes I feel stuck. Like in Christianism, there is that kind of culpability all the time. You always feel guilty.
Yeah.
For
There's a lot of that.
yeah, and so it's like this, like being guilty is like something I'm really like trying to work on at the moment, because I know that it comes from that religion in
Right.
my country. I mean, it's for me, it's a country, Brittany, it's more my country than France, and so yeah, that I understand. Like I kind of see now that we are all walking those runes from Catholicism, and that we should just maybe just try to know better about every single religion, so that we could understand like how away from nature we've been taken from some religions, because
Right.
of some religions we've been taken away from nature.
Right.
Instead of believing in like actual things that were around us, like trees and
Right.
insects, then we were believing in stuff that we couldn't see, and so we forgot to
Yeah.
watch what was in front of us.
Gotcha. Now you have another guest on the record, Émilie Chappell, who
Yeah.
is known more as a cyclist than a musician. She's on a track called Netra Ken, which I think means nothing anymore. So what is she doing on the track, and why is she there?
Roeddwn I dal yn ei gwneud atgoffais fy hun. Cynbellid fy mod I dal yn symud ymlaen. Hyn yn oed os oeddwn yn cerdded. Hyn yn oed os oedd rhaid I ni stopio bob 5 munud.
She's there because she's. I was reading her book last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember, which is called "Where There Is a Will,"
Uh-huh.
and it's so she did the transcontinental race. I don't know if you know this race, which goes like all all the way across Europe, and it's like I think it's like I can't remember. It's a huge amount of kilometers in
Right.
like not we you can't do it in more than 17 days, I think, and so it's super intense for them, and they just do it day and night, and she was during that race. She was like she did it several times. She's been dealing with the mourning of a good friend of hers that was the founder of the transcontinental race, and that happened to get killed in Australia.
Right.
um, so the founder of this race was super charismatic, and so she talks about that morning, and she talks about the difficulty she could have at some point, like while climbing a mountain, which is the Mont Ventoux, which is a very huge symbol in cyclism in France, the Mont Ventoux. And so she was climbing it, and she didn't have strength anymore. So she decided to climb 1 kilometer for one woman that had inspired her.
Right.
So during 1 kilometer, she would think about that woman, and the next kilometer, she was thinking about another woman, and the next kilometer, and then she managed to climb up the Mont Ventoux, just thinking about
Ah,
women that inspired her. And
right.
she called that her invisible peloton, because she was obviously on her own on her bike, and so she's like, for me, this moment especially in the book really um, talks about the strengths of women, and how like women together can like climb mountains, and so I really wanted to have a bit of that in the record. So at the first it was Gareth saying it, and
Uh-huh.
in the end, Gareth told me, why don't you ask her? And I was like, because I don't dare asking. I was so impressed by her, and so I got in touch with her, and I realized while getting in touch with her that she was Welsh, and even though she doesn't speak Welsh, like she's super linked to Welsh language, as every single Welsh person. And I was like, wait a minute, it's like our cousin,
Right.
language wise, it's our cousin. So I was like, I asked her if she would agree reading it, like translate her own book, this extract in Welsh, and read it. And so she was super excited about it, and so she recorded it like on her phone and sent it to me. And I was like really glad, because then in the end, the three languages that are like for me like have a symbol um, linked to Breton language were in the album, like Welsh, Breton, and Faroese that Oliver is singing.
Uh-huh. Now, speaking of language, I'm curious to talk more about. Uh, well, here in New Zealand, there's the Maori language, which for a long time was not allowed to be spoken, and people were punished if they went to school and tried to speak it and all that. And it's changed in the last couple of years since then. In fact, it's changed a lot, but it means a lot to a lot of people. And that seems to me to be a similar thing with the Breton language that you're talking about. So why is language so important to when you're growing up and to be allowed to speak the way you want to?
I think it really reflects the personality of a culture and a community. So,
Uh-huh.
like in Breton language, we've got like that saying, for instance, that the verb own, or yeah, have, the word have doesn't exist. It's like you don't have things.
Right.
Things are with you like are with you in a period, but
Right.
you don't have them. You don't
It's
own
more like you're
anything.
sharing them instead of, or
Yeah.
borrowing it instead of
Or
owning it.
they transit through you. They
Yeah.
transit through you, but they exist without you, and they will exist after you, and you don't own anything. And
Right.
so the words that they have tried to build is not to kind of reflect the have word, is not even have, is a word built after after B, the word B. And so I think that is super important in the Breton culture because it also talks about the death and the fact that we are just in transit in that world, and the world was here before and he will stay here after, and we are from the very beginning of our lives, we are always facing death in Breton culture, and we live with death. And so it's a way also to accept it and like not be surprised when it happens. It's
Right.
like, hey, surprise! I forgot to tell you, you are going to die. No,
Yeah. Well,
you know
everybody
it's
likes to
from.
think that they're exempt.
Yeah.
They're the one exemption.
Yeah, so it's so I like this thing in Breton language as well as many other things, and but I think this tells the story of a culture, and I think in every single language there are stuff that you can't really translate, and that just makes the whole line of the culture of the community and of the people that are speaking that language, and that's also why I think people should talk many languages because then it
Right.
opens the view to someone else's world, and it's super important, I think.
Cool. Well, hopefully you can come down to this part of the world and try your hand at Maori if you get a chance.
I would love to. I would definitely love to, and I would love to do an exchange. Like if anyone hears me and wants to exchange some Maori words with Breton words, I'm happy to do it.
That would be very cool, actually,
Yeah,
because they're very distinct languages with their own sounds, and
yeah,
it's a very musical language as well. So that
yeah.
helps. Whereas English is kind of not, except if you're Bob Dylan, of course. But there you go. All righty. Well, so where are you? You're in Chicago now. Are you heading east? You're going to New York City?
No. Now we are. Yeah. Right now we are playing in Chicago tonight, and then we go a tiny bit up north to Canada, and
North to
then
Canada.
down again to New York and Washington.
Well, they speak a bit of French up in Canada, so that's kind of close to what you're up to.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
they don't like me because I don't.
It's always
Because
something.
I don't. It's like, yeah, I don't sing in French, so they don't want me to sing.
Oh, man. Well, all right. Well, you got some work to do, it sounds like. Thank you very much for talking to me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully you can come down here sometime and we can see you in
Yeah,
person.
hopefully let's keep in touch so that I come and say hello
Yeah, that would be
if at
great.
some
All
point.
right. Have a
Yeah,
great
I
day.
would love
Thank
to.
you. Bye-bye.
Have a great day too. Bye.
Bye.